Okay, we're going to start by logging into WebPT. Just click OK. This is to begin a new physical therapy evaluation. When you first start with a patient, they will not have been assigned to you. So you're going to go over here on the left. You're going to, under Patient Manager, choose Display Patients. In the future, once the patient is assigned to you, you can go ahead and search for the patients over here. But for today, let's just do Display Patients. And this will bring up all of the patients. We're going to change the search type to all clinic patients and change the patient status to all. And let's search for a patient that we can work on. For today, we're going to use a beloved Brandon Taylor. Click on his name, and this is one of the errors that you'll pop up. It'll be fixed. Just click OK. It'll show Brandon as inactive. First, we're going to change him, and this is only in some circumstances. Usually, it will already be active once we add the current patients. We'll click active, and we'll save the patient. Brandon needs a telephone number. Let's add his number. Okay, so for the initial evaluation from the drop-down menu, if there are no notes added for him, that's the first option that will populate. You can add other things as well, but really that's what we're working on. We'll click the arrow to begin. Once it loads, it'll load the current date as the date that we want to add the evaluation. If we need to change it, we'll go ahead and change it to 2 days ago. Let's say we're late on our documentation. Let's put our time in. Let's say we saw him at 7 o'clock until 8:25. He likes to talk. We can choose which treatment side we want to work on. The injury and onset date needs to be the same date that we did the evaluation. It can be before, but it can't be after the evaluation. There are a certain amount of smart text that are added. If you click on it, you can view them, and you can choose any number of smart text to add on your own. I'll show you how to do that in a little bit. For Brandon, we're going to choose that he really wants to go grocery shopping but can't quite get around. We're going to know what his prior level of function was. You really only need to choose one of these markers. Under self-care, mobility, changing, maintaining position, or carrying, moving, and handling objects. We're going to choose mobility because that's what we typically work on the most. You can add as many as you like. It's really just what he was able to do before. After that, we're going to go down to his current functional limitations. What can he not currently do? Can't get around, do his house, laundry. He needs an assistive device. He has trouble walking in mostly all directions. We're going to stop there. You can add as many as you like. He does have pain in his lumbar spine. We got this from the initial evaluation. We're going to rate his pain, and we're going to move on. We're going to add some of his prior medical history. Let's say he does have Alzheimer's, he has congestive heart failure, he has osteoarthritis, and he's a little bit overweight. If you don't know the diagnostic testing, don't worry about it. He was currently on home health services. We'll add that in there. His age will be a complicating factor. We don't need to do too much information. Just checking the boxes is typically okay. We're going to treat multiple areas. It's been a while since he's had this problem. And his rehab potential is not as great as we want it to be. For him, he's not too bad, but we're going to mark him as moderate complexity. It depends on how long you take. If an evaluation only takes you 20 minutes, that's considered moderate. Anything less than that is low complexity. Anything more than that is high complexity. Dealing with patients that have multiple issues, then we can do high, but usually even most of our home health patients transitioning to Part B or outpatient therapy are going to be moderate complexity. We didn't check his medication, so we're not going to look at any of that stuff. If you do put it in, Brandon wants to be able to walk around the grocery store and mow his lawn. We're going to click next. Now there are certain profiles that you can add. If you scroll down, you can see any number of pre-added profiles from WebPT. You'll also have access to a Brio deconditioning. So a plain examination won't have too much in it. So you need to choose a profile to do. Let's choose the Brio deconditioning, and it populates with basic items that you need in order to perform an evaluation. The patient did consent. We didn't do a questionnaire at this, but we will mark some of the outcome measures. I like to do a 30-second sit to stand. We got 5 repetitions in 30 seconds. We are going to be working on his balance, so we're going to add a Berg. He scored a 39 on the Berg. If you'd like to, you're more than welcome to open the test and score it yourself. You don't have to, but it's available. On some of the other tests, if we want to do a lower extremity functional scale, those are available. We don't have to rate this pain again unless we want to with a questionnaire. Then we will move on to some of the general function exams. I do like to do a timed up and go. Got 22 seconds on the timed up and go. And let's say that he did a functional reach of 7 inches. When we move on down, you'll notice here the primary outcome measure. What do we want? The Berg will usually populate because that's what objective measure we're going to be going off of. If you do a 6-minute walk test, great. If you don't, you can just click on the yes for ambulation, and under comments, just put how many feet he walked. Walked 250 feet, front wheel walker. He was able to walk with contact guard assist, but had loss of balance 3 times during the ambulation. We didn't really look at his range of motion. We weren't concerned about it. His strength was limited. You can go through and be as detailed as you want on the strength, or you can just put 4 out of 5 bilateral upper extremities and bilateral lower extremities. We can add as many special tests as we'd like. If you do a positive Faber on the right, go ahead and put it in. Whatever you want to do. As we move on from the objective, this is the assessment portion. If you click down, there are 2 assessments that are already added as far as general verbiage. One is just a general deconditioning. The other deals with back pain. You can be, again, as detailed as you want to be. You can add your own smart text. If you go over on the left-hand side and click on smart text, you can add as many as you like. We will mark him as moderate complexity because that's what we did before. For the patient education, we educate him on the plan of care, which is a smart text. Click and save. There are no contraindications. Patient did agree that the plan of care would be good for his condition. We will add some of the problem lists. He has poor gait, balance, pain, and we'll move on. Now, with the goals, you can make it as easy or as difficult as you want. If you type in patient will, most of these will auto-populate below it. It'll auto-populate with the goal as well as the time frame. On the initial evaluation, all goals have to have a time. We can put as many as we like. Usually we try to put at least 1 short-term goal and 1 long-term goal. These are auto-populated, so it is very easy to add the goals. But feel free to change them as you'd like. Okay, we're going to add those goals for right now. We'll click next. On the initial evaluation, we need to add a plan of care documentation. This is what the physician will sign as far as our orders go. And we don't have to send it to him. We don't have to call him. It's automatically faxed to the doctor through our system. The frequency is debatable, but depending on what we choose, it'll be 1 time or 2 times a week. For now, let's just put 1 time a week. We're going to go for 8 weeks before we get them back on home health. And it'll automatically populate the frequency from here. If you violate the frequency, it's not a big deal. If we want to go 2 times 1 week, it's really not that big of a deal. On the procedures, these are the interventions we plan on doing that will populate on the plan of care document. Choose as many as you like. If you choose them and don't use them, it's okay. If you don't choose them and use them, then it's kind of an issue. So you overestimate on what you may want to do and underperform. We don't have time to do all of them, but it does give us options. We'll add some modalities. We do use electrical stimulation. If you use other things, great. Put it on there. It doesn't hurt to add more. Okay, we'll click next. And this is where you can write some of your plan. It'll auto-populate. You can put exercise, and then it'll just populate. You can put progress. This right here is where we get into the billing section. So on the plan, there isn't much to it. But on the billing, this is where we decide what we're going to bill for now as well as in the future. We're going to choose the moderate complexity that we did. It took us about 20 minutes. And on an evaluation, you should have time to also perform some interventions. As far as billing units go, an evaluation is worth 3 billing units. All other units are worth 1. A reassessment is worth 2. But for our intents and purposes, we were there for an hour and 25 minutes. So let's go ahead and add some of the markers that we typically would use. We did therapeutic exercise. We introduced an upgraded home exercise program. We will add a neuromuscular education. You want to be as detailed as you can on these, even on the evaluation. And then we perform some manual therapy with the patient. Okay, that's good for our initial evaluation. Once we feel like we're confident in doing it, kind of just check over it. That's really all we need to put for right now. But you're more than welcome to add any other areas that you may do. We can go over that later. The physical therapist will have options to forward it to somebody else. You don't need to worry about that. You are going to finalize your initial examination. You can preview it if you like before you make any corrections to it. And this is what it'll look like once it's printed off. Okay, you can scroll down, and it kind of collates everything into just sections and paragraphs. There's our assessment that auto-populated. Change anything that you may need to. And from here, we can finalize it. But let's assume we didn't click this. Let's go ahead and make more changes. Say we want to make the changes to it. It'll bring the note back up. It'll start at the beginning. Whatever areas you may want to change, it will go to that. If you're satisfied with it from the beginning, which you probably will be, you can just finalize it. Once you click OK, it will scrub it. And if there's an error, it will let you know. It'll tell you where to fix it and what you need to fix. This one populated okay. Once we get our billing system in place, you'll be able to see the number amount that it billed for, which is good for us to keep an eye on so we don't go over our cap. That's how you do an initial evaluation. I mentioned the smart text. Each clinician has access to their own smart text, and you can do anything that you want to do. When we click on it, this is what it brings up. These are the phrases that I manually put in. You can go through each phrase, kind of see what is listed, and you can make it public or not. It doesn't have to be public. Public will allow the other clinicians in our clinic to see it. Here are the goals that I typically use for the patients. You can add your own goals if you like to and make it more simple. When you add a new goal, you'll put the goal up here and choose whether it's a short-term or long-term, and then duration you want it to go. Usually it's 8 weeks because that's how long we'll keep the patients on Part B. Any patient education you want to auto-populate, go for it. Same with any complaints or gains, any functional deficits, what we had at the beginning, any of the patient problems. And then I don't ever use flow sheet. I'm not even sure what it would be. But if we want to use flow sheet, more than welcome to. And it'll just auto-populate in your therapeutic exercise or whatever you want to do. Once you're satisfied with it, on each section, if you change something, click Bulk Update. Go back to the left and choose Customize IE Profiles. That's Initial Evaluation Profiles. These are the ones that I created with the Brio deconditioning and my own deconditioning, which are exactly the same. If you go into our clinic profiles, there's nothing there because nothing in the clinic was added to it. And then here are all of the WebPT profiles. When you log in to your WebPT, if you click on clinic profiles, it will show the Brio deconditioning. And that's all. A couple of items. Now that we've added Brandon, when we first log in, this is the screen we'll get. Brandon will then be searchable in My Patients because we added an evaluation form. If we messed up and we put the wrong date, or we messed up on the evaluation billing, or whatever it may be, if you click on the initial evaluation and you click by View PDF, you can add an addendum. This will open the note back up. You can make your changes, but you'll have to finalize it again, and it will add new records, and it will show that there was an addendum made. Perfectly okay. It resends it for billing. It happens sometimes, but that's how you do it.